welcome to Friday Night Conversations. So glad you're here. My guest tonight is Bob Gonzalez. He is the author of A Flicker in the Water. It's a book about the sea and what goes on in the sea. So, welcome, Bob.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm glad you can be with us tonight.
Oh, sure.
I just realized I've had four podcasts, and now that you're on this one, you've been on every one of
All right. Well, we'll do the best we can.
them. All right. Well, before I get into asking you questions, would you like to just go ahead and open up and tell us something about you? What you
Well,
want?
I grew up in Pennsylvania. I moved to Florida in the 1990s, and I opened up a small business, and I started fishing a lot. And I decided after 15 years of fishing and being out on the water, I had a lot of interesting stories people might enjoy and maybe learn a few things from. And I created the book, A Flicker in the Water. And that's what the cover looks like. That's a Goliath grouper. It's the biggest grouper in the grouper family. And believe it or not, you can catch them in shallow water, under bridges, pilings, things like that, close to shore. You don't need to run out there on a boat a lot of times to catch them. They'll come to you.
Yeah, I think I've told you before my grouper story. When I was 16, me and a buddy of mine ran away from home. We went to Folly Beach, South Carolina, and ended up cleaning groupers. And
Yeah.
them suckers were stinky.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not the prettiest looking fish either, but boy, do they taste good.
Yeah, okay.
Uh,
So I know you've written two books now. Can you just go ahead and give a little bit of details on both of those?
well, my first book was a book of poems. And after that, I decided to go in another direction, and I wrote this one, more personal stories. And I'm actually in the process of writing a third one now, too, that I hope to have out next year. This one was about baseball and the franchises and some football poems that I have collected throughout the years that I think people will find interesting.
Okay. And your first book, it was poetry, right?
Poetry, yeah, it was poetry. It was about a lot of the happenings that were going on back in the craziness of the COVID times.
Yeah.
So, hopefully we're past that, and, we don't have to revisit that anymore. So I'm looking forward to this book here that I have and the one coming out next year.
Okay. So do you consider yourself a poet or a storyteller, or which one do you consider yourself more than the other?
Oh, I just consider myself a guy who likes to have fun writing. If it turns into a poem that they're entertaining and fun, I enjoy that. Or if it turns into a story, I enjoy that too. It
Yeah.
all depends on what I'm writing about. And I never expected to. Football and poetry is not something you think would mix and match, but hopefully I'll be able to pull it off and people will enjoy it.
Yeah. So I know also that you are a fisherman. So
Yeah.
tell us about that. I believe you just do deep sea fishing, correct?
When I was younger in Pennsylvania, and I used to do some freshwater fishing. When I moved to Florida, though, I just became strictly saltwater. I live on the coast of the Gulf of Mexico, and in a place called Destin. They call themselves the world's luckiest fishing village. And there's a big sign as you come into Destin, that a big billboard there that says world's luckiest fishing village. So I started to fish here all the time. And I still remember the first time I ever came into Destin, driving over that bridge. I looked out over the Gulf of Mexico, and I thought, wow, I had just come down from Pennsylvania, and I thought, wow, this is what Christopher Columbus must have felt like discovering the new world. It was just amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So I know every fisherman has a big story about the one that got away. So what's your story about the big one that got away that you're going to catch someday?
Yeah. Well, there's not a fisherman around who hasn't lost one or two in their time. If they're telling you they never lost one, they're not being honest. The fish always have a say in these matters. You do what you can. you tie the lines properly, you get the reels adjusted properly to the right length and pull and drag, and to make your chances, increase your chances of landing the fish. But when you're out there, you're in the fish's territory, so they know where to go, they know how to behave, and they're fighting for their lives. So um, a lot of times they're the victors. I've had that happen to me more times than I care to admit.
Yeah. Now, I know that your book, was it the introduction that was written by Mariel Hemingway?
Yeah. Mariel said the book spoke to her with a deep sense of appreciation. And that really meant a lot to me because, her grandfather, Ernest, wrote The Old Man and the Sea.
Yeah.
And, my dad was from Cuba, and he was, 10, 11 years old. The Old Man and the Sea was written in Havana. I, for a long time, thought it was written when Ernest lived in Key West, but no, it was written when he lived in Havana. And my dad lived on the other side of the island in a place called Santiago, which is down by Guantanamo Bay. And actually, the lead character in The Old Man and the Sea, the old man's name was Santiago. So anyway, and actually, one more thing interesting thing is the port of Mariel, which is a little bit, I guess, west of Havana, is what Mariel is named after. The port of Mariel, there where Ernest and his son, her father, used to fish all the time. So I sent her the transcript of the book, and through my publisher, they work with her. And if she likes it, she'll write the forward for you. She does reject some, so you never know for sure. So I was glad she liked mine, and I'm grateful. I'll forever be grateful for that forward.
Yeah. You feel that was really helped sell the book along?
Yeah, it has helped a lot. I mean, when people read that name Hemingway, they can't help but take notice.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest names in American literature.
Yeah. He was a great writer.
Yeah, he was. He was. Yeah, he wrote a lot about his war experiences in World War I, and then actually, he was actually at D-Day. He was actually a reporter at D-Day when the Allies were in Normandy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love The Old Man and the Sea. That was an awesome book.
Yeah, that came later. Like we said, that was written in 1952, and it won the Nobel Prize, I think, in 53 or 54, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's one of his most popular books. I think everybody knows that book. I think of all his works, that's been the most enduring, everybody, young and old, knows The Old Man and the Sea.
Yeah.
So to be associated with that is just an honor that I can never forget.
Yeah. So do you look forward to being as popular as Ernest Hemingway someday?
I don't know about that. That's a pretty tall order to reach, but
Yeah.
We'll see.
I'm an author, but I don't aspire that high. It would be great, but I'm not going to delude myself.
Yeah.
So with the books that you've written, Bob, which one did you enjoy writing the most?
Well, this one, of course, because it's the most personal to me. Most of these are my own stories, and never get between a man and his fish. So this one. I am enjoying writing this new one, though. To be honest with you, I'm coming up with a lot of one-liners that I really find interesting and funny sometimes. So I hope people will like this one too.
Yeah. Okay. Which one is selling the best?
This one. I promote this one day and night, and I have to. It's not going to promote itself, so I have to do the legwork. But I'm okay with it. It's fun. I got invited to speak at a high school here, local high school, that they're the only accredited fishing class in the whole United States, the only high school with an accredited fishing class, and they asked me to come speak to them. Yeah, isn't that something? Most people think of fishing as leisure, but these kids get high school credits. They teach them how to fish. They teach them how to tie knots, and things like that. And, they asked me to come and talk to them.
Okay. That sounds like a good course for anybody.
Yeah. I mean, it is a skill, something you learn, and people make their living off the sea, even still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was taught how to drown worms when I was a kid. And we
yeah.
got a lot of that, but we
didn't
fish. Now, I know you grew up in Pennsylvania. Do you ever miss the mountains living down in Florida?
Yeah, I do, especially in the fall. Those fall colors, they're beautiful. We don't have any of that down in Florida. In the fall and in summer, probably more than I do in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I know your books are available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, correct?
Right.
So which one sells the best? What do you think?
Of mine?
Yeah.
Oh, the flicker in the water for sure.
I mean, do you sell more through Amazon or more through Barnes and Noble?
Oh, probably through Amazon. Although I have some books in Barnes and Noble down in Naples on the shelves. I don't know because I can't get an accurate count of how Barnes and Noble sells online. But from the shop itself, Barnes and Noble, probably online, Amazon, and then I sell them, a lot of them, through myself through my website. People can email me and ask me for copies. I've sold a few that way too.
Oh, okay. I know with mine, since I use Amazon as my publisher, I
Yeah,
make a lot more money off of them than I do if you buy it through Barnes and Noble or something.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, that's it. Yeah, like I said, this is the fourth podcast of mine you've been on. I know you've done a lot of others. What is it you like about podcasts so much?
Well, it's a way of getting the word out. In this day and age, it's what you have to do to become known. Um, Podcasts are the quickest and the best way to develop an audience. Um, you know, uh, Network TV and newspapers and things like that are still good, but it's radio. I do have a couple radio ads too that are running, but podcasts are still the most effective and best way to reach a large audience.
Yeah. Yeah, not everybody can be invited to the Oprah show and have your book.
Yeah, yeah,
That would be nice, you know.
that would be nice. Yeah, but that's probably less likely than winning the lottery.
Yeah. I always get a little bit jealous when I see some famous person get on the Oprah show or Dr. Phil or on Good Morning America and they put their book up there. I think,
Yeah.
wow, they're going to make over $1 million tonight. You know, I think, wow.
I'll tell you a quick story though, Steve. There's a guy, I don't remember his name. He was a first-time author. He's a retired military guy. He lives in Texas, and in some states, I think it's like 8 or 10 states now, they have what's called the National Grocery Program, where authors can go into the grocery stores and they set up a booth and they let them sign and sell their books. This guy had been struggling selling his books. Nobody was coming to the table or anything, and just on a whim, some guy went up to him, bought 2 of his books, almost because he felt sorry for him. And after he bought those 2 books, he filmed the whole thing on TikTok, put it on TikTok, and the thing went viral, and millions of people saw this video. This happened like 3 months ago, and the guy got an invitation. I don't know if it was to Good Morning America or the Today Show, one of those. And he sold like hundreds of thousands of copies, all within like 24 to 48 hours after that. And yeah, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it happened in a grocery store in Texas. Yeah.
So do you like the book signing events? I know you do several of those. Did you like those?
Yeah, I mean, you get to engage with the people and they ask questions and you get to talk about, something you enjoy. So yeah, I enjoy them. I've done them at Barnes and Noble a couple of times, different places, different bookstores, local bookstores. Yeah, I enjoy it for sure.
Okay. So do you plan on doing a lot more of those in the coming year, or do you want to settle down and rest a while, or what are you going to do?
As long as they want me to do them, I'll do them. And next year, if I have this other book out, I'll have more things to talk about with them. So I'll probably end up doing more stuff instead of less.
Yeah, promoting is the hardest part.
It's the hardest part. Yeah, it's the hardest part, and it's never ending. So
it's not so much fun. I don't enjoy the promoting part myself. I mean,
it's hard to get used to it. It's if it doesn't come naturally to you, you have to work at it until you develop a way to do it. It's hard for most people, for sure.
Yeah, it is for me. I'm shy anyway. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what else would you like everybody to know about you or what you have going on, Bob?
Well, they have another book to look forward to, probably next year sometime. Would like them, if they do read A Flicker in the Water, to focus on a lot of the spiritual aspects in the book. I think the oceans are a way for people to get closer to nature and to heal. It's more than just about catching fish and eating fish. It's life out there, and it's the sky, it's the sea, it's your common humanity is out there. And when you're on land all the time, it's hard to imagine exactly how much water is on this planet. It's just unreal when you're out there. Yeah, it's just incredible. And, just enjoy the creation, God's creation. He put the sea out there for us to be nurtured by and healed by.
Yeah. And there's a lot more water in the world than there is land.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Would you like to read an excerpt from your book?
Sure. Is there anyone in particular you would want, or
whichever one you want to read, brother? It doesn't matter.
All right, I'll read the first chapter. Okay. The water was brightly lit, reflecting the tuna's iridescent colors off of their elongated muscular bodies as we arrived at sunset. Getting to the offshore oil rigs, our fishing destination, had been no easy journey. An 8-hour trek through an unpredictable yet calm sea. On the way, we had managed to land a bull dolphin. In Spanish, they are called dorado, an apt name that perfectly captures the golden essence of their beautiful multicolored skin tone with differing vibrant shades of blue, green, and striking yellow, capped off by a flat, squared, bulging head, creating a color combination as diverse and beautiful as any fish in the sea. Most know them as mahi-mahi, a Hawaiian term that means very strong. The bull, a male, had a companion with him, a female called a cow. Male lions are the kings of the jungle, but in the world's oceans, females wear the crown, reigning supreme. Captain Mike had made the trip many times before, but even an experienced seaman cannot help getting those little butterflies in the pit of his stomach as the departure time draws closer. The excited anticipation of what could happen, good or bad, when leaving the dock is a different, yet no less satisfying feeling than a successful trip's return. Filling coolers with ice, rigging bait, setting rods and reels to the proper length and drag are all necessary tasks to be done ahead of time, because as any fisherman knows, you want to be ready when you get that make or break strike, which, as every fisherman who has ever told tales also knows, happens each time you put your baits in the water. Doing these required tasks for the Twister's crew team would be Troby, known as Drawbridge to his friends. Drawbridge was an experienced fisherman who had more stories to tell than Popeye the Sailor Man, only he did not derive his strength from spinach. Drawbridge was a jovial fellow with the look of an experienced fisherman written on the lines of his face, who, like many seamen, had an unquenchable thirst for the suds, which often led to some amusing and at times not so amusing circumstances. That's the first page and a half.
And would you care to read the foreword by Muriel Hemingway?
Yeah, sure. All right, here's the foreword by Muriel. Having grown up in a family that loved to fish, this book spoke to me at a deep level of appreciation. My father, the first son of world-renowned author Ernest Hemingway, has a story of fishing from his childhood that I knew well because my father, Jack Hemingway, made it known that this story, which I'm about to tell you, is the reason he fished nearly every day of his life when he finally came of age and was quote-unquote allowed to fish. Let me explain. My father was raised the first 10 years of his life in Paris, France, and his father left him and my grandmother, Hadley, when he was only 2 years old. But Papa, as Ernest was called, visited my dad annually as a child and took him to the fishing streams and beaches that he loved the most. The interesting thing is that when he visited my dad, he took Bumpy. That's my dad's most embarrassing nickname, according to Dad, fishing. Only Papa fished. He wouldn't allow his son to do anything but watch. For years, my father watched his dad fly fish and deep-sea fish off the deck of the Pilar, which he acquired when he moved to Cuba and when my father visited him there. But until he was around 16 or 17, he was only allowed to watch his father fish. As you can imagine, a boy yearning yearning to learn and become good at something. Those years of watching created a desire to fish in my dad that couldn't be satiated right up to the end of his life. My dad's watching spawned, pun intended, a deep understanding of the water, whether fresh or salt water, and a true understanding of the fish and what they wanted to eat and at what time of the day they wanted it. My dad became a world-renowned fisherman. He fished around the world and fished most days of his life when I was growing up in a small town in Idaho. Fishing, as my dad taught me over the years, and his father taught him, is more about the experience, the water, the fresh air, the temperature, the stillness, or the current, and of course the landscape or seascape that surrounds you, than it is about hauling fish onto the deck. There is a zen to fishing that speaks only to those who have gone out into the water and experienced everything about the environment they are in. You are a visitor when you are out in the ocean. It is a world you must respect and honor as far more powerful than any man. The sea belongs and is run by the creatures that live and survive there. Bob Gonzalez's book is a homage to fishermen and their need to explore the water, especially when deep sea fishing. It is a sport, of course, but for the fishermen, it is a religion. So bravo to Bob Gonzalez for this poignant window into the world of the deep sea and the extraordinary fish that call it home. A Flicker in the Water is a telling title to the stories that emerge from that flicker. I tip my hat to Bob Gonzalez, to my dad, and to my grandfather, who also saw the flickers of the water as the symbol of the men they wanted to be, men who spoke the language of the water. Mariel Hemingway.
Wow. That's
pretty
impressive.
Cool. That was beautiful, yeah.
Yeah. Bob, I certainly appreciate you coming on, telling us about your writing and your fishing. Is there anything else you want people to know before we sign off?
Well, my website is a one-stop shop where you can get everything, and there's some cool videos there and stories there and things about the ocean that are not in the book. And I think people will really enjoy and be entertained by visiting the website, flickerinthewater.com.
Yeah, I visited the website and I noticed some good interviews. And if you want, feel free to put this one on there.
Sure, I will.
All righty, well, Bob, I'm going to let you go, brother. And thank you very much for being my guest as always. I've enjoyed it. And I hope to see you again Sunday night on the Night Crew.
Sure. All right, Steve. Well, thank you for having me, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Bob. I enjoyed it. Thanks,
Okay.
everyone, for joining in to Friday Night Conversations. We're here every Friday night. And everybody, good night. Thanks for being here and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.